The main event of the evening, Jonas Vingegaard against Tadej Pogacar head-to-head on a mountaintop finish. This was Paris-Nice Stage 4, finishing on La Loge des Gardes, but there's an intermediate sprint with about 15 k's to go at the end of a false flat climb with 6 seconds available again. And with Pogacar about 15 seconds or so behind Vingegaard after the team time trial, UAE are going to want those bonus seconds. Add in the fact that the brake was pretty strong and cooperating, and there were crosswind nervousness. That meant that the last hour of this stage before the climb, with Trenton going back to the car for instructions, were made extremely difficult by UAE, keeping the pace on these big ring climbs. Ineos would pace the descents to keep Martinez in good position. Then it was Bjerg and Novak and Oliveira pacing again for UAE. They look much better drilled with Oliveira stepping up. Bjerg's always good on these sort of climbs. And we see, if you smile the camera and wave, it ain't a good sign for the what's to come afterwards. So the breakaway got whittled down to 150, but Bjerg had a mechanical, and this mechanical cost Pogacar bonus seconds today because UAE waited up. They were running out of numbers. The break was able to maintain its advantage with that Bjerg pacing, and then Novak was able to come back to the front. Cofidis paced on this climb. I don't really know why. It's 2 hours later. I still don't know why. Was it for Izagirre bonus seconds? Otherwise, it makes little sense to me. The break was breaking up, and only one rider from the break was able to withstand Wellens and UAE's pressure, who ate into that gap. Was Carmajan brought back, but for UAE, they ran out of numbers. Großschartner was their last domestique left with Wellens, and they wanted to save Großschartner for the final climb. So it looked like they'd done all that work for nothing, especially when Michael Matthews jumped out of the bunch to take 6 seconds. That put him into the virtual GC lead at this point. Skarzev from the breakaway on UMX took 4, and Pogacar only 2, but then he continued on, looking back to see Vingegaard behind him. And Vingegaard panics a little bit. And when you think about it, 15 k's to go, they're coming up to a mountaintop finish. Pogacar with Matthews, huge peloton behind. Vingegaard's got teammates. There really is no need to panic. And yet, on the flat, on this descent, he's pushing full gas with, I think, Jack Haig or Gino Mader in the wheel. And he's got teammates coming back. He's got Foss, I think Tratnik in the group. Say Pogacar kind of played Vingegaard a little bit there on the intermediate sprint. Pogacar just seemed to keep it going a little bit. He wasn't fully committed to the move at all. Brought back, and it was Ajudizere who were teeing it up. I thought it was for camera time, but actually Aurélien Paris-Penchant was really good in this stage. Ineos, once again, like they did in the Vuelta all last year, entered the climb in first position with Freyler pacing for Danny Martinez, Sivakov on his wheel. You'll see in the green jersey, that's Mads Pedersen trying to position Skjelmose. Pedersen is a really good GC domestique. You'll remember from Richie Porte's campaign in the Tour de France 2020. And yeah, we've got this 7K, 7% climb, but I didn't expect big GC gaps, especially the likes of which we saw today. This climb, when I saw it on the parcours, I was like, it's going to be a sprint. It was not a sprint. This was really selective. Champoussin attacks at the base, always the smart move for Arkea Samsic, and Großschartner, UAE, and Pogacar's last domestique gets on the front, says, "May I have this dance?" The Austrian picked up by UAE to strengthen their mountain support this year, and he rips this first sort of 2-3 kilometers of the climb. He drops powerless. He puts Haig under pressure. Everyone else is put in a line. But then Vingegaard attacks with 4.3 k's to go on a 7% climb with Pogacar in the wheel. And sort of they're going 28, 30 k's an hour up. This draft is really important. And Pogacar's like, nah, I'm not going to work with you. Why wouldn't Pogacar work with Vingegaard? Because they go to the finish, Pogacar wins the sprint, but Vingegaard will still get 6 bonus seconds. It's only a delta of 4. Pogacar's going to win a sprint from a group where he can take 10 bonus seconds and Vingegaard maybe 0. So no need for him to work. We've got Cavagna in the GC group. He said he'd be trying for GC here. He did over 6 watts per kilo, I think, for 17 minutes or so, or maybe a bit longer. Really good climbing performance from the Quick-Step domestique. And we have David Gaudu, really smart move. The 2 favourites have been brought back. They're not going to immediately respond to him. He catches them by surprise. He's also got to be good enough to snap off, and none of the other favourites like Martinez, Bardet, Simon Yates follow him, and they didn't. In fact, it was Chris Harper for Jaco Alula attacking across. And notice something here. Harper's going across to Gaudu, but look where Vingegaard is. He's on the left-hand side, and I think it's either Narvaez or Martinez in between him and Pogacar just sort of moves over out of camera shot to the right-hand side. And so Vingegaard's not on Pogacar's wheel. And Pogacar, smart racer, bang. Big attack. He's got the much, much bigger absolute power 10-second burst than Vingegaard. And with Vingegaard not in the draft, he's able to put him on a gap. And we think, oh, we saw this on Spandau last year. We saw this in the Tour de France multiple times last year. But not like this. Not for 30 seconds where Pogacar had a gap on Vingegaard. It stabilizes, and then we eventually see Vingegaard giving the look back, and that gap is opening up with Pogacar looking very aerodynamic, bridging across to Gardes. And we know that Vingegaard full cracks here with Maida coming back to him. So with this second last kilometre, about 4% as well, and Gardes relaying, Pogacar was able to rip open this gap to Vingegaard, who on a 7K 7% climb does pretty much full crack with Vauquelin here and Aurélien Paré-Pantra in the distance. They're bridging across. They're actually going to eat into the gap to Vingegaard, who completely blows up. Pogacar played the climb perfectly, even with one domestique. Gino Maida, great to see him back in shape. He drops Vingegaard. Gardes tries his best, but there's no gifts in this life. There's no gifts in cycling. Pogacar takes the stage and a commanding GC lead on Jonas Vingegaard. A big fight back after the Tour de France last year with Paré-Pantra and Vauquelin. Great day for France, 3 in the top 5, but Vingegaard, not his best day. Gardes, excellent, but look at this gap. 34 seconds to Maida and 43 seconds to Jonas Vingegaard on a 7K 7% climb. We've seen much harder climbs than this, where riders are pretty much coming together in a sprint, like we saw on Turini last year in Paris-Nice. Pogacar now 44 seconds ahead of Vingegaard on GC, 10 seconds ahead of Gardes after that excellent FDJ time trial. And Simon Yates, despite a bad day on the climb, still in 4th on 56 seconds. Here's what Pogacar had to say after the stage.
It was already really tough on the flat parts with the crosswinds, and it was really chaos all day. And then in the final climb, it was Felix did really good job, and the team before setting me up to the climb in perfect place. And I had good legs. I knew that we couldn't give Gardes too much, so I decided to go all in to catch him. Otherwise we wouldn't win.
We've been talking about the battle between you and Jonas Vingegaard. Were you surprised to see that today Jonas cracks behind you?
First he launched the attack. I thought he's feeling super great, so I didn't counter. I was just waiting for the rest, and I mean, in the end, it was really tough, and I think he just missed a little bit to catch me, and then he couldn't close and crack a little bit.
Let me know down below, is GC over, or can Vingegaard fight back on the long climb on stage 7, which I can't pronounce? I'll recap stage 5 tomorrow though. Till then, ciao.